Saudi Arabia is reportedly seeking to improve relations with Hezbollah. According to Al Akhbar newspaper, dialogue between Riyadh and the terror organization was discussed in a recent meeting between Iran's foreign minister and Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah. An unnamed European government has reportedly communicated Riyadh's interest in starting talks with Hezbollah, mediated through a third party. This comes amid Saudi Arabia's recent efforts to make amends with regional rivals, namely Iran. And for more on that story, I'm joined in studio by I-24 News defense correspondent Jonathan Regev and Middle East correspondent Ariel Ossaran. Jonathan, what more can you tell us about this report?
I think it shows us that the Saudis really are taking a shift in their policy. We saw that in that rapprochement with Iran, with a deal signed, brokered by China. And it is also seen in Lebanon. Saudi Arabia and Iran are both the regional superpowers, regional powers, each backing different sides. It's true in Yemen, it's true in Syria, it's true in Lebanon, where Iran strongly backs Hezbollah and Saudi Arabia strongly backs the anti-Hezbollah camp. And now the Saudis understand that they perhaps have to somewhat get closer to the other side. It's true in bilateral relations. It's true in Yemen, where we see attempts for a ceasefire in that war. And it's also true in Lebanon. I don't see Iran making a lot of moves towards Saudi Arabia. It's the Saudis making more of a move towards Iran. The Saudis perhaps understanding that the things in the Middle East are changing. Is it because there is less American presence, because Washington has its attention more in other places, Ukraine, China, so on? It may be the case, but this is clearly what we're seeing on behalf of Saudi Arabia, trying to approach Iran in various arenas, Lebanon included. I'm not very sure those taking decisions in Jerusalem are very happy to see this big picture.
Right, but Jonathan, what's Saudi Arabia's interest here? Is it to push out Iranian influence from Hezbollah?
I don't think the Iranians have any illusion that there is an option to push Iran outside of Lebanon. Iran has been supporting Hezbollah for 40 years now and will continue to do so. Just the understanding that in the recent environment developing here in the Middle East, with one superpower leaving, another superpower being China, perhaps pushing in, maybe it would be better to have better ties with Iran.
How concerning is this for Israel? Will this give Hezbollah more of a foothold in the region?
It's concerning on one hand, and perhaps a little of a calming option on the other. Concerning, of course, because Israel wants to see all of the power and the energy of the Iranian-backed powers going down, which is not the case. Iran is only getting stronger with this deal with Saudi Arabia. On the other hand, it could be perhaps sort of a calming factor. We know that Saudi Arabia clearly does not have any interest to see any major escalation in the area, which can begin in Lebanon, but can echo on on the entire region. It can begin in Gaza, it can go into Jordan, and then Jordan borders Saudi Arabia. So they have an interest of keeping things quiet, perhaps having more of an influence in Lebanon itself, making sure that things do not escalate. The big picture, I think any move that gives Iran a stronger position is not something that Israel would be happy with.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Syrian state media is reporting Israeli airstrikes in Syria early this morning, the latest in a series of attacks to deter Iranian entrenchments and Hezbollah activity on Israel's footsteps.
Yes, it was a busy and interesting week on this Israeli-Iranian front, which is constantly ongoing. The war that was never declared but is constantly ongoing. It began on Friday when we saw various videos and various images of the Iranian foreign minister standing in Marun Aras on a hill overlooking Israel, and the Iranians are made sure that not only that he's there along with Hezbollah people, but also that this is echoing that the images do come out. The Iranian foreign minister standing right on the Israeli border. Perhaps the Iranian response to the fact that the Israeli foreign minister, Eli Cohen, was in Ashgabat in Turkmenistan, about a week ago, opening an embassy very close to the Iranian border. The following day, on Saturday, we're hearing reports of an Israeli strike in Syria. Again, a strike a bit different in its way than the previous ones, not targeting Damascus airport or Aleppo airport, but different places within Syria. And these reports come just a few days after we heard of cargo planes planes landing from Iran, a few cargo planes coming from Iran, not landing in Damascus or Aleppo, but in different locations in Syria. Israel signaling perhaps to the Iranians, wherever you land in Syria, we know where you are and we'll take action.
We'll have to see how these new geopolitics affects Israel and the region. Jonathan Rega, thank you for that update.